Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. How's it going? This is Steven, and this is Experience Mornings. It is October 12th, 2016. I am cruising to work. I'm on my way to the office right now at Dogtown Meeting. And good morning. So we talk about the last four videos, the last four episodes of Experience Mornings. What we have talked about is diversity in the tech industry. I think specifically in Silicon Beach, but in the industry as a whole. We've also talked about contextual design, or how your environment, how your feelings, how your mood, how the context of where you are impacts your experience with apps. And the last one was kind of an extension of that, to talk about more contextual design, but in the context of your day, right? Like what, not just how you're feeling and what you're doing, but the pace at which you do it, I guess, the hustle, I guess, if you will. Today, I want to talk about other people, coworkers, people that are decision makers in the design process, people that clients, coworkers, bosses, people that are the committee. When we talk about design by committee, it's a difficult thing to do. So how to avoid this problem, or better and more accurately, how do you get the input of the stakeholders that are involved, the clients, the bosses, the coworkers, the committee that decides the design, and still end up with something that's not completely jacked up? So the first thing is getting some consensus prior to review. So what I mean by getting consensus prior to review is to talk to each of the stakeholders, or to as many of the stakeholders as possible, to talk to them about what their end goal is with the design. So if there's a specific objective to them in their department, for them as individuals, what is the end game? What do you need to do? What do you need to have this product solve for your needs, right? And every stakeholder has needs in a project. Once you've been able to achieve something that looks like consensus, at this point, take those ideas and come up with a prototype, a design prototype that essentially meets those needs on some level. If there's some overlap, that's great. If there's some conflict, which more times than not there is, in competing departments, competing groups, if there's some conflict in the design, you need to reach out to those stakeholders collectively and say, dear stakeholder 1, dear stakeholder 2, you seem to have a conflict of interest with one another, making it nearly impossible for me to do my job. Please resolve this issue among yourself and give me the priorities, as it is become a blocker in my ability to design this. This takes the responsibility and places it square on the people that are having the conflict, and doesn't use you as a wedge between two people or two groups that have competing ideologies or concepts or whatever. So now we have reached out to stakeholders. We've had these conversations about what their needs are. We've pushed the conflict resolution back on the parties that are having the issues, as opposed to having us be a mediator between them. The next step in the process is to find people outside of the organization, or outside of the client's organization that you're doing the work for, to actually do some usability studies and to do some usability tests. To me, this is kind of a two-pronged effort. There's the user testing piece of the equation, meaning reaching out to people that are in the demographic or psychographic that you want to target, and actually putting a prototype of the project in front of them to look at. And then there's a high level of awareness or knowledge about best practices for that individual product or service, right? So taking a competitive analysis of the landscape of what the products in a similar space are all about and what they do, and having a grid essentially that lists out what these features are within these competitors' products. Okay, so now you've done your homework, you've done your competitive analysis, you've had conversations with stakeholders, you've done user interviews, you've done user research, you understand what best practices are based on your competitive analysis. Now, going into the design process, you are armed with lots and lots of data that support your design ideas. Now, when you're sitting in a room, when you're sitting with a quote-unquote committee that helps you design your product, or the stakeholders that need to sign off, you can go and present something that completely fulfills the vision of what you need to do, right? And by that, what I mean is you're not going in there and if somebody says to you out of this group, hey, I don't like this feature and I don't like it functioning this way, you can come with a rationale that's supported now by a mountain of data. Not a mountain of data, maybe a mountain of data, sure, why not? But now you're making decisions based on research. You're doing making decisions, design decisions based on quantifiable evidence, as opposed to, I just don't like it, or my daughter saw that and she didn't like it. So you've got some support in your camp. So that's about it today. We'll keep it short and sweet. Remember, when you're dealing with users, you're also dealing with people. And when you're dealing with people, you have usually a committee of people, a group of stakeholders that have an input on your work. So having the ability to navigate around them or through them or with them is completely up to you. But if you can do it with them, it's usually better. So remember to design great things and remember those you design for. Have a great day.